time at ASU as they get ready for football season. It'll be weird, too. It'll be the last football season the Sun Devils will spend in the Pac-12 conference, of course, moving to the Big 12 after last week's events. And here to talk about all the shifting going on, Vice President of University Athletics at ASU, Ray Anderson, kind enough to join us here on the Arizona Sports Line. Good morning, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing well. With whom am I speaking?
This is Vince, and we got Dan over
Dan,
here.
Dan, your former radio pals, Ray.
Okay, I didn't know if that was Jared still, waving the baton, or one of you all. So good to talk to you, Vince and Dan.
Good to talk to you, Ray. I'd love to get your thoughts. I mean, such a tumultuous time. We were commenting on just the roller coaster that Friday was for the Pac-12 conference and for ASU. I'd love to get your thoughts now, a couple days removed, on where Arizona State is moving and positioned for the future, and your feelings on how we got here.
Well, I'll tell you what, the feelings on how we got here it would take a long time because, we've been on this train for about 13 months since UCLA and USC defected, trying to figure out where this was going. So we don't have enough time, but what I can tell you is that it has been an exhausting road. I think from our perspective, we ended up in a very, very positive place with the Big 12 and what it means for our student athletes in particular and their experiences. So we think we're in a very good place. What we're doing now is getting ready for our final Pac-12 season, which takes a lot, while also, very frankly, starting the planning for transitioning into the Big 12 because, 12 months goes really, really fast. So we'll be doing double duty in terms of trying to navigate our way, and into the Big 12, certainly trying to help structurally, scheduling-wise, traveling-wise in particular, trying to figure out what is the best-case scenario for our respective sports, and particularly our Olympic sports. So all of that work, very frankly, is already underway since this weekend.
All right, now there's a lot of good stuff about this move we want to get into, but let's get the elephant out of the room right now, Ray. The comments on Morgantown, West Virginia, I know you weren't looking to inflame any message board fans out there, and you were kind of put in a bad spot with what the president had kind of thrown at you in that press conference. You want to clear up any of that or what might have gone down since then?
No, what I'll tell you is this, is that although those comments were said in jest and taken out of context, they were clumsy comments from me that I sincerely regret, because I offended some people when no offense was intended. And for that, I apologize. I sincerely do. And then Wren Baker, the West Virginia AD, and I have known each other. So I called Wren on Monday, and we had a chance to talk. I explained the context, and he graciously accepted my apology and certainly said he'd pass it on to their president, Gordon Gee, whom I know. And then we shared, very frankly, our mutual excitement about us being in the same conference going forward. And then I'll also tell you, we shared a few laughs because he made me promise that I would absolutely come to Morgantown many times over the course of the next few years.
I saw that it took 5.5 hours to get there, and I thought, I don't blame Ray. Who wants to spend that long on the road? But I must admit, I do not like cold weather, and it gets really cold there in the wintertime, and that's what I was jesting with President Crow about. But that being said, I've been there. It's a beautiful, beautiful college town. They got a nice stadium there, and I'm telling you, their folks are as gracious with their hospitality as any you will find. So I know there are good folks back there, and no offense was intended, and I look forward to visiting.
Yeah, there's been a lot of jokes around, Ray, that, we'll see what the Big 12 sense of humor is when that first conference schedule comes out and you guys are opening up conference play on the road in Morgantown.
Yeah, right.
Well, see, that's why we need to sit down and have an intelligent conversation about scheduling.
Yeah, right.
So I can weigh in and suggest to them that, there may be a different way to do it this first year.
Yeah. Ray Anderson, VP of University Athletics at ASU, our guest here on the Arizona Sports Line. A lot of reaction has come out from these announcements over the weekend from a lot of different universities, a lot of different conferences, but the voices of the student athletes, the non-football student athletes, concern about travel and how this, it complicates things for them and their families. In your position, Ray, what kind of response? What kind of comments have you had from families and student athletes on that subject, which quite honestly is still being worked out, as you just indicated?
Yes, and it has to be worked out. But we haven't had from our coaches or our student athletes, other than maybe one or two, have anything negative to say. Very frankly, our coaches, and particularly our Olympic coaches, think it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us in the Big 12. And judging from the student athletes that I have seen walking by, they're high-fiving and thanking us for giving them an opportunity to go to the Big 12 because, the student-athlete welfare for us was critically important. And that's why my comments about, perhaps we go to divisions or scheduling pods so that we can be regionalized and in a more efficient geographic footprint for our student-athletes to travel and compete is really important to us. So we're going to work on that. But our coaches, very frankly, and our student-athletes are thrilled with our move, and I understand the general concerns of student athletes about traveling too far, too many times in one season. But I think our new footprint, if we get the regionalization that we think makes the most sense, will be very doable, and in my view, and I think a lot of our views, no more challenging than what we've been doing all these years in the Pac-12.
All right, for all the water under the bridge, I think you recognized exactly the kind of hire the football program needed in Kenny Dillingham. You got a contract done with Bobby Hurley because there really is nobody better for the basketball program. What's next? How does ASU's revenue sports thrive in a conference like the Big 12 that takes a lot of this stuff more seriously than we people do out west?
Well, you're going to have to step up, and very frankly, one of the reasons why this move made sense is that financially it's a stronger conference. And as a result of being in a stronger conference, you will have stronger financing and financial opportunities coming to us to then be able to invest at a higher level in our programs to be competitive because we're here to compete for championships, and there's no question about it. They play big boy and big girl sports down in the Big 12, and they invest in those sports to win. And so we're going to have to step up all of what we do in our game here at Arizona State, including the financing, the fundraising, and the philanthropy. I think Kenny Dillingham said it well the other day when he said, those programs down there have bigger budgets and they invest more. So if we want to activate the Valley and really compete, we're going to have to do likewise, or we could face some really tough headwinds out there if we don't. So we know we have to do that, guys, and we're going to be prepared to do it, and we're going to challenge our donors and our fans to step up and help us philanthropically to make sure we can do that. And then we have to also be creative in our own right in driving new revenue streams like we were doing with our new stadium naming rights and other opportunities. We've got to be entrepreneurial and aggressive about fundraising because it's going to take more investment to be successful in that conference.
Ray Anderson, the VP of University Athletics at ASU, our guest here on Arizona Sports. With all of this shifting, some have suggested, Ray, why do you need conferences in football anymore? With the national nature of a lot of these conferences now, it does make a little bit of sense. What is your reaction? What would you say to people who want to eliminate conferences in football only?
Well, I'd ask them to be a little patient, but don't discard the idea because, the way things are going, it may very well be the most sensible thing to do in the next 3 or 4 years. We shall see, as these alignments hopefully settle in and NIL gets a little more hopefully governed by hopefully the federal government or somebody steps in and saves us from ourselves. Otherwise, it may just make sense to go to a football independent model. So the discussion is not an unreasonable to have. I just think the timing is probably a couple, 3 years away, but it may be inevitable.
Before we let you go, I'd love to get your thoughts, too, on it. You have a very unique perspective on it as an administrator in the Pac-12 for nearly a decade at ASU, but also somebody who competed in the conference as an athlete at Stanford. Just your thoughts on what looks like the death of the Pac-12, Ray.
It's very, very disappointing and sad because I'm from Southern California. I grew up when it was the Pac-8. I went to Stanford when it was the Pac-8. That's all I've known my whole adult life, and then to come back and be part of the Pac-12 in its history and its rivalries and its tradition was really gratifying for a lot of us. So to see it going by the wayside, because it has gone by the wayside, is very disheartening. But it's one of those things where things change, people change, and you got to just move on and adapt. But it's sad to see the Pac-12 going through what it's going through. We feel for our colleagues at Oregon State and Washington State, and even Cal and Stanford. Because this is ongoing. Don't know where that is going to settle up.
Yeah.
So
No doubt.
it wasn't just last week, but this week for those teams, those institutions, and apparently for the next few weeks is going to continue to be agonizing. So I feel for them, and I'm sorry that the Pac-12 has run its course. So we got to look forward to a brighter future here in the Big 12 for ASU.
Ray, we appreciate you making some time for us today, especially when things are so busy and tumultuous. And here's to a good last football season for the Sun Devils in the Pac-12.
Thank you. I hope you guys I'm leaving this afternoon with the team for Camp T. We're looking forward to getting up to some fresh mountain air. Hopefully you guys can make it up.
Yeah,
Nice.
sounds good. Thank you, Ray. Ray
You're
Anderson,
welcome.
Vice President for University Athletics at Arizona State University. Our guest on the Arizona Sports Line.